So, okay. First of all, the guy who named that piece of code LessPass shot me a tweet shortly after the podcast saying, quoting me, saying, hope he doesn't attempt to obtain a trademark on that. And then replied, no, we are not trying to obtain a trademark on LessPass, which of course he would not be able to obtain. But one of our listeners dug a little deeper than I did. A listener named Adam took a look at the code and was horrified by what he found. He reminded me that I had said that last week that I hadn't bothered to look at the code since for two reasons. It was so trivial to do this correctly that I just gave the guy the benefit of the doubt that he had. But also, it didn't even pass muster from a functional UI standpoint. I explained why it just wasn't practical to use this thing, independent of how it worked. Well, Adam took a look at the source and, as I said, was horrified. So here's how the problem should be solved. I didn't articulate it last week because we talked about this before. You take all of those inputs, the three fields, the domain name, the username, and your master password, and you just hash them together through some algorithm. And again, let's assume that there would be a strong hash, like an SHA-256. That's going to convert that ordered set of three strings into a high entropy, a maximum entropy binary blob, 256 bits. And if you needed more, you could iterate the hash and get some more. So, I mean, it's possible to do that. So the idea being you're mapping that deterministic input into a bunch of binary. Okay, then what you do is, looking at the various checkboxes, you determine the size of the alphabet. That is, is lowercase on? That's good for 26. Is uppercase alpha on? That's good for another 26. The digits 0 through 9. There's 10 more. Special characters. I have 33. Adam mentioned, I think the guy was using 26. I don't know why, but whatever. So you sum that up, and that's the size of your alphabet, meaning the set of characters that could appear in every position of that password. So what do? You perform a long division. You take whatever that number is, say that it's 64. Well, that's kind of cheating because it's easy to divide. But whatever it is, you perform a long division by that number of the 256 bits. That will result in a result of the division and a remainder. The remainder will be between 0 and n minus 1. That is where n is the modulus, or the size of the alphabet. So that remainder picks in an ordered fashion one character from that character set. And so that's your first character. Then you repeat. You simply divide that not quite any longer 256-bit number, because it's been reduced in length by the division. It's literally had that, log 2 whatever number of bits. It's, some fractional number of bits removed from it, essentially. So you divide it again, and you get another remainder in the same range. Map it across your character set. That's your second character, and so on. And you keep doing that, consuming entropy from the output of the hash until you've satisfied the number of characters that the password should have. I didn't go through all that last week because we've talked about this before. That's the way you solve this problem. Problem has been solved. what did this person do?
Oh, no. He didn't do that?
Oh, Leo, no. He does.
All you have to do is look it up, right? I mean, it's
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the way you solve the problem. Get this. He divides lowercase and uppercase into vowels and consonants, and I have no idea why. Then the first character.
It's not English here. Who cares?
The first character is a consonant, a lowercase.
Oh.
The second character is a lowercase vowel.
He's trying to make it pronounceable, maybe?
Well, the third character is an uppercase alpha. The fourth character, is an uppercase consonant. The fourth character is an uppercase vowel. The fifth character is a digit. The sixth character is a special character. And then he repeats.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh,
it's awful. It's unbelievable. It's like, what? It really is.
You're reducing the entropy hugely.
Yes, you have, so that any password this creature produces is going to have a vowel as its first character.
That's ridiculous. How many vowels are there? Oh,
A-I-O-U.
And sometimes Y.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
thank
terrible.
you, Adam, for telling us.
Yeah.
Just because, as I said, this thing deserves its name much more than I knew. LessPass.
Wow.
I mean, and even inspecting a few of its outputs, you would immediately see, wait a minute.
They all look
why
the same.
is it always a vowel, then always a consonant, then always a vowel, and always a consonant, then always a digit, and then always a special character? And the problem is, of course, attackers would see that too instantly.
Right.
And say, oh, well, this makes our job much easier. So if last week's, I had to come back to this thanks to Adam's bringing this to my attention, because again, I didn't take it seriously already. But if any of our listeners thought, well, I still think this is useful, be advised. You'd better choose 45 character passwords in order to get sufficient entropy. And even then, I should say that Lord knows what algorithm he chose to choose vowels. I mean, it sounds like long division is beyond this person. So he may have I can't even guess. I didn't look at it. I don't want to know how he chose the vowel. Did he keep taking bits from the hash until he found a pair that fit within 0 to 5? I don't even know. But boy, this is, and our lesson here, our takeaway is that this should sort of be a cautionary warning for us. No matter how well-intentioned they may be, not everyone is equally capable of solving important problems correctly. And even those who are, we know, can still make mistakes. But the last thing anyone should trust is an ad hoc construction such as this thing. And of course, Telegram, the encryption, unquote, I put it in quotes in my notes here, was the same. They just made up some wacky doodle encryption scheme and said, whoa, yeah, it really scrambles the bits up.
Looks scrambled to me. Yeah. Hey, this raises a question, because there is a setting on LastPass, and I bet many password managers, to make a password pronounceable. And I'm sure that's what this was all about, was make it pronounceable.
That was my first thought, too. What was consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. You'd have some chance of
remembering Kaka 959.
And maybe he thought he was being cute or clever, but unfortunately he was destroying the security.
It sounds like so. Then make it pronounceable is probably not a good choice in LastPass.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And in fact, later we talk about the breach of Adult Friend Finder. And boy, there's some passwords you do not want to pronounce.
99% of the passwords there were because they were using SHA-1 at best.
Yes, or in the clear. Yes,
Jeez Louise.
and NSFW.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's adult friend
for a lot of those.
But no, so that's good. So I won't use that make pronounceable. I think if you think about it, you don't have to be a mathematician to understand that your goal is to make a password as random as possible. So anything that reduces randomness, or as Steve would say, entropy, is going to reduce the effectiveness of your password. And so
it's going to increase its brute force ability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, the idea of that option for LastPass seems odd and antithetical to it, because it's there so that you don't have to remember your passwords.
Right.
So
Well, maybe not just remember, also say it to somebody. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be in there. And I won't, and I never did use it, but partly because it isn't that pronounceable. It's kind of like what this guy would generate. Yeah.
No, it's like, and I'm completely converted. I've given up all hope of knowing any of my passwords.
Right. It's like saying make password memorable. No, don't do that. That's not what you want.
Exactly.